Hi, this is Maria Quattrone, and this is Be the Solution podcast. And this morning, I'm welcoming my guest, Brittney Pino. Welcome, Brittney.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. At 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Love that intro. It's awesome.
Thanks, Brittney. I love you. I'm so glad to have you this morning.
Yeah.
You are an amazing mom and business leader and coach, and I'm excited to talk to you about everything you're doing. So, Brittney, you're from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Is that where you grew up?
Yes. Born and raised. Yeah. I moved away for like a little short stint, when you're like 18, 19 and you get a wild hair, but I came right back. This is home.
This is home. So you've been building your business in your hometown. I'm sure it was all easy and rosy.
It was just, I just started and just like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, we all have a story, right?
That's right.
So your story began in what year in real estate?
03, very end of 03.
Yeah, so you almost got almost 20 years in. 03, you started as a real estate agent, and you started
a baby.
Yes, you're a baby.
I was a baby.
You were a baby. Mm-hmm. You really were a baby.
Yeah.
A young person.
Mm-hmm.
And you started doing really well, and you started to build a team with a friend of yours, right?
And that was years in. I started when I was 20. I did a few sales, on my own. I was just with a franchise brokerage. And then at 20, kind of hard to gain momentum. So, it's hard to develop that trust. Honestly, I was so green. I didn't know really what the heck I was doing.
How did you decide real estate?
So in college, I was trying to pick a major, and I was like, well, I really like marketing, and I really like business and entrepreneur. Maybe I'll be a teacher, and I like legal, and perhaps I'll go into law. Like all of these things, everything. I wanted to do all of these things. I couldn't pick. And I was hanging out with a friend's older brother. He was, already established, and we were just chit-chatting about career choices and stuff. And he was like, well, what about real estate? I'm like, what is that? What do you mean? What do you do with that? And so I started to really research the career, and it was super, I'm telling you, it was like an aha moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is one package of everything. I don't have to pick one thing. I can do the marketing, and I can do the sales, and I can be a business owner, and all the things. You're working in the legal, you're writing contracts and PR work, and you're not behind a desk 24/7 and so it was just everything that I wanted. I was like, that is for me. That's what I'm doing. So I dropped all my classes in college and got my real estate license, and I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
It's so funny because I had a similar story, but I was older than you, and I was already in another career for 11 years.
Oh yeah.
And somebody said, what about real estate? And I'm like, oh no, real estate. And then I did all that research and asked a lot of questions and talked to, a few people. And I was like, I'm doing this. Everybody thought I was crazy to leave my, career where I was making a lot of money, but at least back then it was a lot of money, it seemed like.
Right.
So it's just funny how it,
Yeah, and everybody wants to tell you all, when you start, the statistics, this many, only this many agents make it. And my dad was one of them, he's kind of going to tell you all the worst things that can happen, just to be really cautious and safe. He's super cautious. And I was like, Dad, I'm looking at some of these successful agents. I'm like, if that person can do it, I know me, I got this, I can do this. So.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you can't change with somebody is their belief in themselves, right?
Yeah, I know.
Confidence, because you could take that anywhere with you. You interview and you look for people. You see, do they have that confidence in them, of whatever it is, even if you have to borrow that belief. It's interesting to see the people that succeed. I didn't even know people failed in the business. Did you know a lot of people failed?
In the beginning, sure, because because of my dad, he's telling me hey.
He keeps telling me the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But, so I started independent, kind of an independent sales. I was so young. a friend's mom approached me and was like, hey, there's this golf course community that is hiring right now, and they're looking for somebody. They pay a salary. I want to say it was like $36,000 a year. And when you're like 21, you're like, oh, that sounds like amazing. And so I went and interviewed for the position, and they offered me there was like 3 or 4 agents that interviewed, and they offered me the job. And I was like, I don't want to do this, but I did. So I did it. And I worked on-site sales with a salary. So it was a draw. So it was like salary for a while, and then your commission, so many houses you sell at the end of the year was getting like commissions also. So
Right.
making far more than the flat salary. And at 21, 22, making, $70,000, $80,000 a year, I was like, this is amazing, right? But it was like real estate boot camp. This developer was very hands-on with us. There was only like 3 or 4 agents, and it was a massive, like we had 2 full courses, 2 18-hole golf courses. They had like all different, like townhomes all the way to like gated luxury, right? All these different sections of the community that were different caliber, price points and stuff. And we had a huge relocation market. People from like 48 different states, 7 different countries lived there, because we had we have all like the plant industry and everything that was like halfway between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And so it was just a big melting pot. So it was a really good like starting experience for me, because we would do like creative homes and like new construction, like start to finish, like pre-solds, right?
That makes a lot of sense now, that why you've been doing the business that you've been in, because of what you were trained on along.
It was like 10 years of like, I would have had to been in the business. Probably, I don't even know if 10 years in the business would have gotten me that experience. That was just like.
Probably not, because resale and new construction are completely 2 different animals.
And we did resale too. So it was like, I literally got a little bit of, we had an age qualified community, like the 55 and older gated. It was everything. But he would like put us in the car, and his car, he would pull up in his Jag. He's like, I need to see Brittney. And it was so intimidating. I mean, like, I am not a cry. Like, this man scared me to death, right? So I sit in the car, and he would just ask, like, who are your next 5 purchase agreements? And then you tell him, like, well, I've got this guy. He's like, well, where does he work? How many kids does he have? Why is he moving here? Does he have a house to sell? You have a piece of paper. You're like, he's trying to answer these questions. But again, that's like the boot camp part of it, because it was like teaching me what I need to know to determine whether this person's like a serious buyer, or if they just came in to browse a model home on a Saturday because they were wasting time, right? And so it was just like, he would drill and drill. And if you didn't know, like, seriously, at one meeting, I did leave in tears. I am not kidding. I was like, I just don't know why he's moving.
So that's good. That makes you tough, right? With being able to handle somebody coming at you, and being able to not react, but
think through it.
Think through it. Yeah, exactly. And then it's always like thinking the next step ahead. So it's a connecting of the dots. Real estate's connecting of the dots.
He was like, read this book, and this is. He was very like, he was so much a teacher too. He was like, every 2 years.
What was his name?
His name was Doug.
Doug. What did Doug tell you to read?
Secrets of the Superstars. So that was a really good, like, on-site sales was like positive and negative words, like just how you were talking to clients, using things like beautiful and isn't that intriguing, versus saying like that's like using negative type words. It stimulates like emotion and stuff. So that was it's a really good book. I actually get some of my agents to read it, over the years when I've built a team and coach them, like, this is really good. Even if you're not on-site sales, just working with clients in a sales arena, it's really enlightening. So that was one. And then I remember a big thing that he said was like, every 2 years people go through a major life event, right? It could be where they're getting a job promotion, or maybe they lost a job, or a child is moving out of the home, or they have a new baby, they're getting married, they're getting divorced. All of these different life-changing events happen every 2 years. So that was the thing about staying in touch with all of these people that would come through in the leads, because maybe they're not ready now, but you never know, like, when something hits where it makes a big difference in their life, then they're going to need to sell or buy or whatever. So just really good information. I did that for a couple of years, and then I was like, I was working so much. Like, so I was there late at night, first thing in the morning, late at night, 6 days a week, never had weekends off. And then because I was on-site sales, I had friends then, I had been in the business and I had some experience. They're like, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm like, I can't help you.
Right.
And so it was
Well, they run you hard in that. They run you hard in that business.
big time. Yeah. So I decided, like, after a couple of years of that, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do my own thing. I'm gonna go out and sell real estate. And of course, here I am, like 22 years old, and I bought a house, and it was like right around the time I quit that job of the salary and everything, like 2 weeks, either before or after. And I jumped. I remember thinking, like, I'm going to trust, like, I'm just doing this. I made that jump, and I was like, I'm going to make sales, like independent sales, happen. I had never done it. I mean, besides that little stint in the beginning, right? And so I made the leap, and I bought a house, and I didn't even show it to my parents until after I closed. And my dad was like checking it out, and he had seen it, and he's like in his car, he's leaving. He's like kind of backing out the driveway. And I'm like, okay, so Dad, what do you think about my house? He's like, huh? What do I think about it? I don't think you can afford it. And he like backed out, and I was like, oh my God, like, don't tell me this, right? And so that just, I don't know, I remembered that, him saying that. It wasn't that he didn't have a belief in me. It was more like, he knows, tell me I can't do something, like, I will show you, and I think he
so reverse psychology.
Playing me a little bit. Yeah, I think so.
Reverse psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think sometimes too, I look back at some of the choices. I think sometimes there's the experiences that they had that they bring to us, which is we're not where they were in our head.
Yeah.
And so we listen to that. And meanwhile, I think back, I go, why didn't I buy that more expensive house then? Because I was told, no, you don't want to spend that money. And it's the lack of abundance thinking.
My dad's really cautious. And I guess with your kids too, you're kind of like, scared, you're like,
but you think about that because you have you think abundantly, and you have a lot of goals and dreams. And if you think back to then in your past, as you evolve, they got bigger and bigger, right?
Right. It's never enough, right, Maria? Just more. More.
I walked in the office this morning.
Are we actually going to get there? I'm not sure ever.
No, you never arrive. You
get to that peak and you're like, oh wait, it's like hiking, right? You get there and you're like, oh wait, there's like a taller peak. Like, just keep going.
You want to talk about hiking?
Yeah, no, it is just very good parallel to life, though. You can learn a lot. Good parallel. You can learn a lot.
Yeah, if you don't die on the mountain.
Right. There's that. You should be prepared prior to
taking a
21-mile hike, to elevation of, outside of your experience.
Well, that's what happens when you don't Google.
Right. Yeah. Do your research.
Yes. Google's my friend. So
you're smarter than me.
No, I just didn't have, you had a different motivation.
True.
I love you. So anyway, going back.
So yeah,
you're in the thick of it. You're an independent agent, and you bought this house, and you're like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And you just start selling.
I chased people down. So this is back before, nobody was texting, right? There was no text message. I think I still had an analog phone. I didn't even think I ever had my first iPhone yet. It was just the Nokia, little analog. There wasn't texting yet. There was no electronic signature. I'm not checking emails on my phone.
Yes, I remember all that.
Old school. I mean, everything is like in paper, or, we had the carbon tear sheets. Like, here's your copy of the yellow paper. You like write it out, then you tear it off and fax it in to submit your offer. So the old school way of generating the business was literally, I would spend my days driving around looking for those little red and white for sale by owner signs. They weren't online on like for sale by owner websites and stuff. And honestly, I really broke into the market by doing that. I grabbed a couple of builders who weren't represented. They started to list their properties with me. And then of course, like, I would do a dual agent deal, and it just snowballed. It was really, I built my business on like the repeat referral, just doing a really good job, heart and soul, just doing everything I could to make sure that My clients were well taken care of, working really hard for them, being very responsive and communicating and proactive and just really being ahead of it, right? Before they ask the question. And I have always been very passionate about what I do. So reading the books and just caring a lot about how I conduct my business has always been like the forefront. And so really one thing led to another. I could tell you back then, like I remember this little house, like these people bought it and the people bought it dual agent. And then that guy who sold referred me to the guy who lived behind him. And then that guy was like, she's awesome, and referred me to someone else. And the same thing in the luxury market. I had like hunted a builder down. I was driving through a neighborhood and I was like, that looks like a builder. So I like chased him down. I like pulled up, I'm serious. And I like pull up and I'm like, oh, are you building this house? You know, and he like walked me through it. I ended up listing that house for 1.6 million. I'm like a baby. I mean, in our market, our average sale price here is like 250. Okay, 250. 1.6 million. It was a parade home. So I just like, the marketing ad just rode on that thing as best I could just to get it out there, put my name associated with this property. So we call it evidence of success, right? So I sold that house full price. I put my sell pending on there, and I had a voicemail. I remember to this day. She's like, hi, this is so-and-so. I saw that you sold the house in Pebble Beach, and we want to sell our house in Mallard Lakes. And so the next deal was another $1 million house. And then I had a professional athlete that called me on that house, and I sold them a house, and it literally just one to the next to the next. And that was really how I broke in. Just that grit, it snowballed, you know? And so
that's sales. Yeah. That's following up. That's persistence. That's consistency. Mm-hmm. That's wanting it.
Yeah. And I mean, that was 2007. So I remember like any person that I work with at any given time over the years, I can tell you a story about them, where they came from, if they called me on the yard sign, or if they were an internet lead. Like I remember. I know where they came. I probably remember their floor plan, but I know where these people come from, because it's like, do what works, right? So just keeping up with all of that, like understanding where the business is coming from, and do more of that, right? Because we know it works. Hello.
It sounds so simple.
It does, but it's
not. Sounds so simple.
Yeah. So I did that. And then by like 2009, I was like so busy. I needed help. I was still no kids. I was newly married. I believe he was still in school. So I was kind of like working in breadwinner while he was doing his studying and trying to get through that in a master's in anesthesia. So it was like so intense. And so I was just bulldozed through business. And in 2009, I was like so busy. And so I hired my first assistant. That was another scary move for me. I'm still really young. Here I am now. I'm going to take on somebody, a salary. I'm the sole provider for our family. I'm paying for vehicles and houses and our vacations and our insurance, everything. And I'm young. I'm still, 20 something. And now I'm going to start paying somebody like a W-2. Like, I don't even know how to do this. I just need help. So I hired this girl.
You went a little while without, quite some time without an assistant. You were doing all that by yourself?
I didn't know another way, right? I didn't know until I literally was like, I have to have help. And so, and all this time, like literally my first year out from the on-site sales into just regular, solo agent sales, I was 6 figures right out of the gate with RE/MAX. I started with RE/MAX, and I was with them for 14 years. So in 2009, I hired an assistant, and the very next year in 2010, which was the worst market ever, my business was up 30%, because she was able to take a lot of the stuff off my plate where I can just do more of the buyer seller stuff.
Right. You could be out on the street, boots on the ground, and have somebody supporting you.
It was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, just like Cinder, like I have a magic wand, like the fairy godmother, like I need this done and this done and this done. And she's like, boop, it's done. I was like, oh my gosh, before I had to do that. Now I just say I want it done and it's done. Like I remember that feeling just being, it's so amazing. You can split yourself a little bit, right? You can get so much more done with other people. Like,
that's right.
Yeah. So
with the right people.
With the right people. So I did that. And then so 2010, my business up 30%. I'm like, I need help. I can't get to people fast enough. They're like, hey, we want to see this house. I'm like, oh, how's next Thursday? Like I'm so booked. And so I just did it again. not really understanding modeling. This was very still mega teams and buyer's agents. All that was still really not a thing as much as it is today. And
Right.
so in 2011, I hired in my first like buyer's agent. And I was like, all right, you're just gonna take all the buyers. I don't need you to bring in business. I want to feed you. I'm going to do that. And so I started that way, you know, and I built a team over the next 8 years. She and I were together for like 5, just the 2 of us with an assistant and plugging along. And then after I went through my divorce in 2015, which was horrific, I was like, okay, I need to supplement some income here. And so then I started to build the team, bringing people and helping them, like coaching and mentoring and helping them build their business. I really didn't build it, in my eyes, the right way for long-term sustainability, right? It wasn't like I'm a recruiter. It was like, let's get this close little, you know, group together and we're all going to sell and we're a team. And but like the splits weren't right. And, you know, just the idea of like how long they would be there. I mean, I was helping them and that was good for the time of my life, right? It was perfect. But I knew that it wasn't going to be something that was going to be like, oh, I'm going to have this team for like the next 15 years or be a team leader for the next 15 years. I didn't quite build it for long-term sustainability. So in 2018, I broke it all down and essentially went from being #1 team in Louisiana with the #1 franchise in the world. We're all this close group. It's great. We're making money and we're selling tons of real estate, and let's just take it all apart and go back to solo agent. So I did. I had to go back to solo agent. So I say I had to go back. I took some of it apart and then the rest just kind of unraveled very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, when you start to take people out and move some things around, people are like, they just, you know, and so it changed. Almost felt like overnight, right?
I know how that feels. Similar story.
Painful.
Very painful. But if you didn't go through it, you want to be where you are today.
No, I learned a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
You needed to do it for you.
Yeah. That was necessary and part of growth and business, and I had to make a business decision. So I did. And then I built it differently. When I came back, I was like, okay, I'm going to put in heavy admin to help me do all those things. I knew that feeling of having that, you know, admin person taking so much off my plate so I could do more. And so then I started to do the model more like a doctor's office, right? Where you have like the PAs and all the people file the paperwork and the nurses and everybody, right? So as many people as I could, like transaction processors and admins and runners and videographers and I say everybody I need to help me do what I need to do, which is just literally show up, work with the buyer sellers, negotiating contracts, go into closings. And it's been amazing. I mean, honestly, I'm doing so much more than I was with having the whole team. My first year out, I sold nearly as much and certainly made more profit than I did with a team of 8 people. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
But it's a model that works for you, right? And learning what didn't work versus what does work, and then bringing the right people in to support what you want to do, because ultimately it's about what you want to do, not about what everybody else says you should do or what it should look like.
Yeah. And that is challenging. I think people get sucked in because they think in order to be viewed as like successful, we have to sell like $500 million a year. But you know, sometimes when you dwindle it down, like it just depends on like what your role, what you want to do, right? Some people want to be the recruiter and leader, and that's your role. If you're going to build a team, like you're not really in sales anymore. You're a recruit. It's a completely different animal, right? But this way, my clients want to work with me, so I'm working directly with the clients, and I think I will scale. I do see that in the future, and the big thing is we've been investing in our marketing, branding, and also our websites and things like that. And there's a lot of business that's coming in. And I can't certainly work everything, right? I can't. I mean, I love working my clients, the people who, know me, let me, trust me, their repeat referral, somebody's referring their parents or what. I love that. That's really where I'm at. But the people who just randomly call and they're like, hi, I want to buy a house. I've never done this before. And they're just cold call, internet or website. I would rather than set them up with someone, another agent. That's where I am, because it gives me the freedom. We talked about it kind of before we went live, is that the most important thing for me is, yes, operating my business at a super high level, but I've got 2 little girls. I've been a single mom for 6 years, and making sure that I focus on that area of my life is really important to me, as well as my health and wellness, staying, in the gym with my trainer several days a week, taking awesome epic vacations, and really just kind of not compartmentalizing, but not blurring all of that so much where the business is just running me, right? I run my business, the business doesn't run me. And so I've somehow kind of finessed that over the years to really focus on calendar and time blocking and structure, because it's so easy whenever we're in this business, right? As an agent, there's not like a structure that you follow. You kind of have to like force yourself into it, because some people just keep their hair up in a top knot, don't put their makeup on, get dressed for the day. They work at home. They're reacting to, like, if somebody calls and needs an appointment, then I'll go do that. But they're not necessarily proactive in running it like a business. And so I do. I mean, I get dressed every day, show up to the office. I'm working in my business. I work my hours. I have appointments. I run a calendar. My whole team plugs things into my calendar. And then at the end of the day, I want to be home with my girls, right? I'm doing dinner and all of that stuff. And I do have some leverage, right? I hire a nanny to help me with picking them up from school, so I don't have to stop my work day at 2:30, 3 o'clock, something like that. I can't stop at 3 o'clock. I have to work a full day, right? And so it's just over the years, I've been able to kind of get smart and plug people in and know where I need help and not be afraid to do that, because I know it allows me to be able to do more. I can produce more. Yes, it's an expense, but at the same time, I feel like it's an investment, because I plug that person in and then I'm able to do more. My time is best spent generating the revenue closest to the dollar activity. And so I'm just kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, who are the people that help support you?
Oh gosh. So I have 2 full-time admin. One is like more heavily focused on transaction processing, but they both share like crossover roles. It's just like having 2 people that just do all day in the office together. They both manage my calendar, but they do they're amazing. Everything. They make me look really good. Then we have my full-time runner, who does anything we need with like signs on lot boxes and picking up deposits and dropping things off and keys and meeting photographers and inspectors. And also, because he's licensed, I can plug him in like if I'm out of town and one of my clients, like a house hits the market and they want to see it, I'm like, he's going to come up in the door. Right? So just kind of plug him in, kind of showing partner. So I utilize him in different areas. And we now also have an ISA who's taking in all of the incoming calls from like our website stuff and following up and nurturing and all that. And then I do have an agent that I hired in who's taken some of that business. I mean, he's killing it. I think he wrote up like $1 million just last week in a few days,
Wow.
like from all of this. Yeah.
That's
really exciting, very exciting. And then, so that's at the office now, and then myself, and then I have a full-time videographer that works exclusively for us.
So when did you hire that videographer?
Oh, gosh, it might be almost 2 years now that we've had him.
So he's full-time,
Yep.
works in your office, and he does the videos for the properties and your videos?
Yep. I could probably even utilize him even more, but we are focused on the client, and then kind of everything else is just secondary, right?
How you get it in.
Yeah. And then of course I do a lot of my own video, right? Just selfie mode, put it on the tripod, because sometimes you have to just do this stuff on the fly, right? He might be videoing property and I'm doing like a market update. I don't need all the extra production. So anyway, and then at home, I think it's really important to have the leverage and people there, from like ordering groceries online and cleaning crews and yard guys, pool guys, My dry cleaning, picked up, delivered. I'm not dropping that off. So I'm not grocery shopping. I'm not dropping off dry cleaning. And I have a nanny for the girls who helps me, full time during the summer and then does homework and studying with them during the school year. Like they're on honor roll. They were not on honor roll when I was helping with the homework and stuff. It's just like this, it's a fight. The girls don't, anyway. So
You gotta put the right people in the right place, and just because you're their mom doesn't mean you're the best person to help them study.
I am not the best. I have no patience for it. I'm like, why do you not know this? I'm not your teacher. Like you've been doing this at school all day long. I'm not going to teach you how to do this. I don't know how to do it. Anyway, so that was a really good move because they do so much better in school, and then it allows me, because I'm not stopping my work day and doing all of that. Like, yes, I kind of miss that piece, but at the same time, because I'm able to put full focus on my work, I'm able to do more. And then because I'm doing more, then I can be having more outside of work, which like earlier this year, I took my 2 girls to Fort Lauderdale, South Florida in March for an epic beach vacation. I put their little butts in first class. They're first and third grade, right? They were first and third. I'm like, let's do this. We got our suitcases and we just went, and we stayed in an amazing resort. Thank you, Lori Reeder, for all of the tips. I mean, she was like, go here, stay here, do this, do that. I'm like, it was amazing. We hired a professional photographer there. We got some of our family pictures on the beach. I rented one of those big bed things, like where I hang out there while the girls. Oh, and then they were like, they had the guys who like wait on you, coming out like, oh yes, we'll have another, sandwich, and we need more drinks or whatever. So, that's why I have the leverage, so I can be having to do more in those other areas. Maybe I'm missing that pick them up every day in homework, but that's a grind, and it's not necessarily where my time is best spent, so that I can do those big cool things with them. I mean, we go skiing, we go to beach trips, we've been to the mountains, like Dollywood, Disney, like that's where I want like the real quality time. Right. So,
well, real estate is a vehicle for you to enjoy the life that you created, because you created it.
I'm still creating, and I started buying investment property. That's the other thing. Like the real estate
tell me about that.
It's just starting. So I started at the end of last year. I bought one out of state, like the rentals, just rent. I don't want to do flip properties or anything like that. I've got one here. And I've got 2 here actually right now. And yeah, so I'm starting on that. Just, okay, every time I get a little bit, I'm like, oh, here's a property, I can do that. As long as it's, not flooded, and there's a lot of little things that we have to avoid here, But yeah, I'm kind of starting that. I want to build that passive income portfolio, mind my business. I've helped make a lot of people really rich, right? Helping them find their investments and all of that, and flip properties and stuff. But I also have to make sure that I'm focused on that, so that I'm building a business, not just a job where I have to be in it forever and ever. If I stop, then the money stops. I can't have that, right? So I'm trying to now build something that is going to sustain long-term income. I have 2 little girls, and they are not cheap.
No, I can't imagine.
Imagine.
So you had said, I'm going to go back for a little bit. You had said, I think it's important, people to hear, that you do run yourself off of a calendar, and you are very, very diligent in doing that. And I think I talk to a lot of people. I think a lot of people that are in our business don't run their business off of a calendar.
Yeah. So
and that was shocking to me, because I wouldn't know what to do.
I know. Like, how can you be productive if you don't know, like, you're prepared for your day? Like, what's your day? What's your week look like? I mean, I'm the day before looking at like what do I have on my books tomorrow, and all. Yes. I mean, I have to have a calendar. For years, I had to carry like the black book. I'm like, I gotta write it down. And then when I went, when I took my business apart, what was it, 2018? I was like, I've got to like step this up. I need to go like paperless. I can't be carried. Like, I don't know. Let me go get my book out of my car. Like, God forbid you leave it somewhere, and then you're like lost. Like, I thought I had appointments today, but I don't know. Like, you can't. No, you can't. And so we went to Google Calendar, and it's amazing because my whole team has it. They have it on their desktops, on their phones. I have it on my phone, on my desktop. Like, they're plugging things in. People can schedule appointments through my website onto my calendar. It's just it's automatic. We move something, it's easy. You know, you just move it. And so, but I have the time blocks, like they know, like not scheduling before a certain time of the day, what type of appointments go in what certain times of the day, right? It's a listing and things like that. I have my gym time first thing in the morning. And then I have like my office hours, and then I have, my family time and stuff. And so and even if it doesn't work out perfectly, obviously some people need to meet after hours and stuff, but we just move things around, and I just make sure I'm just very aware and focused on the fact that I fill my cup in all those areas. I can't just, I will draw a hard line and a boundary. Like, nope, I'm not taking any more appointments on Wednesday. Y'all don't book anything, block it out. I'm not doing it because I have to do these things on Wednesday. I have to focus on X, Y, and Z, right? Or like yesterday, it's a Tuesday. My baby, my youngest, turned 7.
I saw. Press.
Turn it off. We are done. I was like, I know it's crazy. Like, who does a birthday party in the middle of the week? Me, I do that. So we did
On
it
the birthday, absolutely.
on her actual birthday. And we had water slides and bounce houses and snowball stands and a pool party. I mean, it was like little girls everywhere. They were just, it was amazing. But we did. I was like, block it off. I'm not taking any appointments. I think actually before they knew I was doing it on Tuesday, I had like a seller consult there. And I was like, hi, move her off my calendar, put her on another day. Yes, business is important, but I also have to put those other things as priority. And I think what I see is a lot of agents fail to do that. They let the business just run them. They react like, oh, you want to meet at 9 p.m.? Sure. No, I'm not meeting you at 9 o'clock. Like, maybe I'm not for you. Like that's just what it's going to be. But you have to have boundaries. And so doing that, I have a hard line on that calendar. Like, this is time for this. This is time for work, like an office hours. I know where I'm going to be. If you want to know where I am, just look at my calendar. That's where I'm at. I follow it. I have to. I don't know another way.
I agree. I don't know of another way. And I didn't realize how many people actually didn't use the calendar. So that was a little eye-awakening over the last few weeks of talking to different people. I even print it out.
Yeah.
So
there
it's all, and I code things in different, you can't see it here because it's not printed out in the colors, but I actually go to code things in this. So green is like listing appointment.
Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
So you code.
Yeah, I have
and
colors.
Then,
yeah.
And what I found also that different appointments require a different cadence. And so now I will only book certain types of appointments in certain hours.
Yes.
And then these other hours are for these types of appointments, because what was happening is I was having like 12 appointments a day or sometimes more, because they were on the phone or Zoom or they were coming in, and I wasn't really physically moving, but they were all over. So the meeting of the marketing meeting versus a listing appointment meeting or versus a employee recruiting meeting, they're all different cadence.
Totally.
I was going like, and so because they were just plugging in as the schedule allowed for it, right?
Right.
And I found a hole for half an hour. She can do a listing appointment then. But before that, I was in the recruiting, and before that, after that, I'm in the marketing.
Yeah.
So that's important too. I don't think people realize either that there's a cadence to everything. There's even like, I went to a networking event. I don't know if things just opened up recently here. So last Wednesday, and I haven't been to one through this association since before COVID because there weren't any.
Right.
And there is a certain cadence to being in a networking event and getting back in the circuit.
Right.
Like and I felt that, and I said, okay, well, it's hard to explain it unless you're doing it, like what that means. Because when you're like, I would say on the circuit of like going to the charity event, going to this, okay, you get the hair done, the nails done, the dress, the thing, and there's several nights a week, you go to this, you go to that, but then it all stops.
Right.
And you got to gear back up to it. Like anything.
Agreed.
Whether it's getting back on doing 10 listings a week or 10 recruiting appointments or showing 10 buyers or whatever it is, there's a rhythm to it.
I think it's
And-
really like human nature. I think it's important that we're in some type of routine, like habits, like we're creatures of habit. You've heard that. It's like saying, right? And we are. And so I think knowing what to expect for me is really important. Like pretty much every day at the same time in the morning, you'll know like that's my gym time, like where I am at the certain times of day. And so if there's like in office or like a prospecting type time, like I feel like on Thursdays, there's a big block that is for like coaching. So I'm coaching, different like teams and things like that. Like that's every Thursday. So I kind of know what I'm doing on Thursday. And so I think knowing what to expect helps me just stay sane, right? So I'm not bebopping and bouncing and feeling like things are in disarray or a mess or chaotic because I'm going from, you're saying recruiting and then I'm going to listing and then I'm going to this and that. Like I would rather, like you said, like have, okay, if I'm going to do recruiting, let's stack them up at the same time, the same day, but like back-to-back appointments. So I'm sitting in the chair and this is what I'm doing for this many hours. And then I'll take listings on these days or these times. And like for me,
Yes.
like they know I don't want a listing appointment at like 9 o'clock in the morning, right? I've got other things like getting the office situated, meeting with my team. If I'm going to go on a listing, like making sure I'm prepared for that. I'm not going to just, do a gym time, come to the office really quick, grab a coffee and then head out to a listing. I feel like less prepared that way. So there's certain times of the day, even like after, I'd rather it be after, later, 11 a.m. or later for that. So I have time to get
and these things are super important because it's all about efficiency. We all have 1,440 minutes or so a week, and how we spend them is we get to create it, right? So I'm all about creating efficiencies and how can I be more efficient with the right energy, bringing to the right portion of the business. Because as a business owner, it's not just selling real estate. It's not like you're just selling real estate, Brittney, right?
Right.
You're running a business, $1 million business where you're responsible for financials, I would imagine.
Yep.
Right? So that's a whole different thing. And so you have to have the right energy at the right time. And I think that's something, if anyone that's listening to this, knowing when you're building a business and as you're building it, those pieces are going to change. Somebody else might come in and take that. But that's not going to be 1, 2, 3. There's a rhythm to it. There's a rhythm to all of it. I think when you can get into that rhythm and flow, then that's when things really start to happen. And you're like, oh, that thing just happened there. How'd that happen?
Yeah. And I think that big thing too, like to start, anybody who is like in the business and they feel like, gosh, I'm like kind of stuck in this spot where I can't really go to the next level. And I say, I'm talking like, maybe you're an agent, you're doing like 5, 6, 7 million a year. And you're like, how do I go next? Well, I think one of the key pieces is that calendar, getting yourself up and dressed, like stepping into that mode, alter ego, whatever it is, right? Getting yourself ready in the morning and being prepared to conduct business professionally. Most agents, because nobody tells you you have to be at a certain place at a certain time, you're contract labor, right? You don't have some people don't have a space like this is my workspace. That is important. You have to say like, I'm going to start my day at this time, same time every day, at least, right? And this is where I'm going to be to do that. Whether I'm making the calls, I'm prospecting on it. I feel like so many people just from coaching, women in business and things like that I'm seeing that it's just more of a reactive type thing. And you cannot scale or grow. It's not about just selling more houses. You have to treat it like a business and be structured and organized, right? And very intentional about how that's supposed to go for the day.
Yeah, it has to be. You're right, Brittney. It has to be very intentional. And also, there's no fun in reactiveness. It just becomes a grind. And so being the proactive and taking that, it's always, how do I think a step to 5 steps ahead? What's going to happen next? And it's future pacing, not only yourself, future pacing, but the clients and the people that work in your organization. So if this happens and this is going to happen, and I want to let you know, I didn't tell people up front, I'm going to let you know. These are things that could happen, but know that we got you, whether it's internally or externally, whether it's with the agent or it's with your client.
Right.
Because things are going to happen, right? My family's dysfunctional. Brittney, I'm sure yours family, we're
Perfect.
dysfunctional as a company.
Right.
Right? We're not going to give up on each other because we're dysfunctional.
Right. As setting the expectation is so, I mean, that's huge with everybody around you. I have to do with my girls, my kids, my littles, right? And then also with clients. And so I think too, having that little bit of experience with the littles, like, okay, this is like, you can't just throw things on them, the little ones, like you have to prepare them in advance. You can't just, they're in the middle of playing, like, okay, go take a bath now. You kind of have to give like the warning shots, right? You have to like set expectation. We may be on our way home and I'm like, hey, so you did this today and this today, and we were really late because you had dance until this late. So now that's already taken away the time that you would normally do these things. So when we get home, this is what you're going to do, right? We're going to get out of the car and you're going straight to the bath or whatever it is. That way, when we arrive at home, I'm not just going to say, go get the bathtub. Like, you have to set expectation. You have to like lay it out so that they know what to expect. And then
that's good practice on the kids.
Smooth, yes. And then in with work and with real estate, it's the same. Like I tell my clients, and we've created over the years. Hello, I've done this 18 years. Anybody who's been in the business, attention. Clients kind of ask the same things, pretty much any client, right? They're going to ask about the same types of questions at about the same time. Hey, what was the feedback? Do I get a copy of the appraisal on the seller? When do I get a copy of the appraisal? Like, don't wait for them to ask those things. Be ahead of it. They're going to ask it. They all ask. And so what we've done is like, I've taken notes, mental notes, whatever, physical notes here. And I'm like, okay, we have a process now. We have like templates, video. We have that conversation before they ask. It's being proactive, because if you're reacting to the questions, then they think that sets a precedent. Imagine if I had 20 clients, they're all now feeling like the only way to navigate the process is to ask me, then what's next, what's next, what's next. I can't run my day like that if I'm having to constantly just react all day to these people. So I say, okay, I don't want my phone to ring. I want my clients to understand what's next before they ask, feel like we got it. And so being proactive is a huge piece, I think, in business to keep down on the distractions and the interruptions throughout the day from our active clients. And then also they're happier because they know what to expect. The expectation has been set, and we're proactive because we're telling them before they ask. So it's like that. Years ago, I had a client like, hey, where can I find my home online? I'm like, fixed it. The next client, here is your home online. You're going to get it before you have to go find it on the internet. But your home online email, we go live, and it's a speed, a race right there. We like link. Here's your copies of your attached documents. If you didn't have them prior to when you signed earlier, right? Everything in one email. It's like, your home's online. We're live. Hey, thanks for choosing us. Here is all the links you can find your home online. Check it out, your docs, blah, blah, blah. I don't get that question. Where can I find it, right? So it's just, and we start there, and then we do it throughout the entire process. Like before inspections and appraisals and all those frequently asked questions, we try to just answer them up front before they ask. And that is a time saver for us.
Super smart.
Yeah.
It's super smart. Because the people don't know. They're only buying a house every 5, 7, 10, 15.
And they're scared, and they're emotional, and they're nervous.
Yeah.
And they're like, all these questions. So it's like you just, carrying them through and answering before, and they're like, it can relax. When your clients are relaxed, it's much better for you, trust me, right? I mean,
it's better for you and the office and everybody.
Yeah.
Because then we have happy people all around the board. So I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
What excites you most today?
Today.
Not today. Today meaning, figure of speech. What are you most excited about for the future outside of your upcoming wedding plans?
So I kind of always stay in a place where I look forward to growth. I'm always like kind of high on life, right? As far as like just all the things that can be accomplished. I don't ever just feel like I'm monotonous. I'm, just accepting where I am today. What's exciting to me is that it's every day is like, oh, it's the beginning. Like I can continue to grow. I can continue to do more, be have and do more, whether it's epic vacations that I want to plan, whether it's buying more investment property, building my business. To me, life is kind of like a game, right? So I wake up every day wanting to kind of tackle that, see what I can accomplish, moving the needle, going a little bit further, kind of pushing it. So I wake up every day just with that fire and desire, to just go more, do more.
So you have this a similar mentality of me. Progress, not perfection.
Right.
Let's move the needle a little bit every day, right? Because it's not like, oh, some miracle thing happens.
Right.
It's just one little tweak, one little change, some great new hire that you bring into your company.
Yeah.
It's all about the people.
Yeah.
All about the people.
We're in control of designing that. And I love that. I feel in control of like designing my life, like what it could be, whatever you choose for it to be. It's choices, it's decisions. And knowing that is empowering, knowing that like I have the power to choose. And I think everybody does, right? Wherever you are in your life, you're there because of choices you make, right? And if you don't want to be there, you can make different choices. And you're not going to be somewhere different or have a different setup unless you make different choices, think differently, do different things, right? And so I love that because I can wake up and say, if I don't like the way something's going, I can choose something different. I can do that.
It's hard for people to do that. How do you get the courage to make different choices?
I think that it's just knowing that when you, it's hard to get the courage. I think it's just a matter of like trusting yourself, allowing your heart to take the lead sometimes and not always stay in your head. I think that we all have it inside of us. Like we know, like, this is what I need to do, or this is what I need to stop doing. And I think if we listen to that intuition, everyone has it, and you follow your heart, like it will not steer you wrong. So the courage is just trusting in yourself to do the things that you need to do or stop doing or whatever it is to create boundary. And I think if you take action instead of ignoring that, right, then you'll find yourself in a far better place than you ever imagined. And I just kind of tapped into that. It's like, okay, like I know this is something I need to do. And although scary, it should just take action, make the choice, do the things. And I think that's the difference between like average and elite, right? The average people just stay. They're controlled by the fear. They don't want to change, even though they want to, but they don't choose to make those changes. Versus the elite performer is somebody who's like, we're all scared, right? We all have that fear when we're faced with like a big change or growth or whatever it is, but to just take action anyway, if we know that that's where we need to be and what we need to do. So, it's just, you just do it.
One step in front of the other.
Yep.
One step in front of the other. No, I think it's interesting that, we all have this opportunity in front of us, and what choices are you going to make or stop making or not doing in order to move forward? And I think sometimes we get stuck in all these things coming at you, and you're in the business. I'm going to say in real estate because there's a lot going on right now, more than normal markets, and to take the time to breathe and to be able to think. And I say, one of my favorite sayings, the magic happens when nothing's happening. When we're in the shower,
right?
When we're taking a walk, when we can clear our brains, because it's hard to make decisions in the fly, like on the fly. It's hard to make decisions when you're in the midst of the work that we do.
Yeah. And that's the big thing with the calendar. Like I make sure that I also take time unplugged away from like doing the vacations and stuff. I mean, have a lot of like the ideas, the growth, the inspiration from stepping outside, having that outside of the fishbowl perspective, thinking about like how I'm running things, how I'm doing my life, and just taking a step back. A lot of times, not just staying in the grind, grinding, doing more doesn't always get you further, right? Sometimes you have to also unplug and maybe take a step back and write it out, figure out what you mind your business, right? And pay attention, like you're saying, like do nothing.
No,
Something, but do nothing, right?
The growth is not in the grind.
Right. It's not.
It's not. The growth is, I mean, you have to take the action to do business. I'm not saying that,
Totally.
right? But to sit back and evaluate, look at things objectively as best as you can, and then be able to start thinking about what do you want? Because I think one of the biggest issues, Brittney, is people have no idea what they want.
They're unclear. You have to get really, really clear. And I think once you're clear on what you want and then you commit to it, there's like your motivation, because you know, right? You can't be, how are you motivated if you don't really have a plan, like where you're going? So you create the plan, you figure out where do you want to go? You get super crazy clear on that. And then you commit to it and then you go. Make the decisions, and anything that's outside of that or doesn't align with it, you don't entertain it. Just stay the path. You stay focused. So focus is a superpower, getting super crazy clear on like, what is your ultimate motive? What's your destination, right? I was watching one of those shows the other day, it was Alone, right? And it hit me and I'm like, you know, their motive, why in the world would they stay out wherever they are? They might be in Alaska or something, and they're just gonna weather it. They're just there with their camera. There's no one around. There might be bears and they're like, and they have to be there for like 90 days. What's the motive? Because they're going to get to the 100 days or whatever it is. And if they do, they get $1 million. So therein lies your ultimate motive, right? So when you're clear on your ultimate motive, it's 100 days and I get $1 million. So when you get clear on that, that makes doing the daily grind of like all that crap that they have to endure for the 100 days worth it, because they're clear. They have a motive. They know where they're going. They're committed to it. So in business or in life, whatever it is, if you have a clear destination, ultimate motive, you will find your motivation. You're not just like reacting, giving into impulses. I don't know where I'm going, why I'm doing it. You don't have a reason. You don't have, then you can't take it to the next level up, or like do the things that you need to do in order to scale and grow. You have to know why, like what it is you're trying to do. And that's stepping out and writing it out. Like what do you can design your life, which is what keeps me excited. I can decide what is my ultimate, what do I want? I will decide what I want. And then I will make decisions every day to keep me in line with that. And I will let nothing take me off the path, because I know where I'm going. I have a purpose. I have a reason, like something I'm trying to achieve. And I think if you're not clear on that, it's easy to get distracted, to get pulled off path, because you're impulsive. So I think if people can understand that, like I'm not motivated. Well, you're not motivated because you don't have a motive. You have to be clear and committed, and then boom, it happens.
Yeah, I don't understand the not motivated part, because I get up every day. I don't need anyone to motivate me. So it's like, what are you doing then? Like,
Yeah.
what
Well, they don't have a.
I try to motivate. I do try to motivate people, because I'm always motivated. One thing I love is motivating inspiration, right? And drawing and helping people try to find it within themselves. I don't understand it, but to try to help pull it out of people, helping them figure out what it is that makes them want to move forward.
Yep.
And so you posted a book. I got it. I don't have it here because I think I left it at the beach, but I read the book and I really liked the book, Winning. And it really,
I thought that you'd like it. It's pretty straightforward, huh? The guy's like, no nonsense, no BS. He just tells it like it is.
and I went, damn, I could do so much more.
I know, right? Leave it
I mean,
for-
seriously, it was so like ridiculous in a good way, that I'm actually gonna read the book again.
Yeah, it's a good.
I read it in like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
I'm very fast reader, so, but I did enjoy that. Do you know, I know you posted that and I saw it, so, but do you like to read or?
I do when I have time. I have tons of books, and so the way that I do it, I actually have here on my desk. I will grab a book and then and it's so funny, I don't like turn start to finish. Is that weird? It's kind of weird the way that I do it. I want to know, like right now, I don't like all the prelude, like leading up to it, preface, like here's why I'm going to tell you about this and all the story. I'm like, give me the meats and potatoes. So I will like use them all for reference. So many of them I have read the whole thing, right? But I keep them around for reference, like going back, and there's always something different that I can grab. I don't ever just read a book start to finish and then put it away and be like, well, I read that and it's done. I keep them and continually go back, because every time I do, I get something else out of it.
That's right.
Maybe in a different place in my life or
That's right.
business. And I'm like, oh, this is like so good. Like forgot that I read that before. So
I know,
yeah.
because you get, wherever you are in your life, you pick up what you need at that time. And then when you read, it could be a year, 6 months, it could be a month, it could be 5 years. You learn a whole different thing. I read a lot of books a lot of times.
Right.
Like a lot of times. I'm rereading right now this book, which is a very popular book.
Think and Grow Rich. Yep.
And I'm rereading it, and I don't read things sometimes in order.
Me too. Same thing.
But this is, if anyone hasn't read this book, and I actually asked a lot of people recently, a lot of people don't know about this book, and I bought like a dozen copies, so I'm going to be giving them out.
Yeah.
I think about 12 or 20, I don't remember, but a lot of copies. And this book is a very important book to read. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So rereading it, and I've been reading this book for let's see, probably 30 years or 30, maybe 25 years.
Love it.
25 years. So I bought a new copies because the old one was kind of beat up, and I'm constantly giving my books away to people as gifts and stuff. So anyway, that's what I got going on today. Not today, but this weekend.
Yay. That's a good one.
4th of July. Think and Grow Rich. We don't live in a world where real estate is a lifestyle business, and it can be incorporated in your business, in your life. So I like to become friends with my clients, and I like to see them even and have time with them on the weekends and go to dinners and lunch or brunch or whatever, or get drinks. And it makes the business much more meaningful to me anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's a relationship business, a healthy one, sustainable. If you just work like a hunter and just take a lead and do the deal and not really even care about the client, or just, you got it done, and then you never talk to them again, then you're back to square one. You're at the baseline, right? Versus if you build a business and you do it like a farmer, like you're saying, you're nurturing, investing back in people and building those relationships. When they want to buy or sell again, they come to you. So it's like an attraction business, right? And that's really how I built my business over the last 18 years, like repeat, referral, building relationships. They come back over and over. So my phone will ring. I don't have to pay. I've never paid for leads, third party. I don't need it. I don't have to have that, because I built it farming over the years. It's a crop. It comes back, it grows, it continues to bear fruit. So I think that's another thing that people miss that mark. It's not just about that one deal, right?
Absolutely. Well, you do amazing work. You're something else, Brittney.
You too, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So what's in store? What before we wrap up, tell us what's going on in your marketplace and how you're slaying the dragons.
I know for sure we're busy. We're very busy, but I think that just across the country, even, we would see so many more home sales if we could just get more inventory. And I think that I'm just seeing such a log jam. It's like I have all these potential sellers. I call them potential sellers because they want to sell. They're ready to make the move, but they won't list because they're like, where are we going to go? So we're having to get creative. It's like, okay, well, we can do extended closings. We can do lease back. So you're just having to get a lot more creative these days to kind of get those sellers potential sellers more comfortable to get to market. And then we have buyers like on the sidelines, tons of them. Like, we're ready to buy. We will buy a house if we can find one, right? So it's just like, it's gear grind, but it's we're moving, and just have to stay with it. You have to be very aggressive, speed to action. You know, when that house hits, you have to be like, first thing, you have to have skills to win bid wars, and we have that, and we're really aggressive with it. But it is much more of a fight to get, you know, things to happen, I think, than before. Yes, it's easy. Like, sure, you get a listing, it sells really quick, but then also you're not having the inventory to then generate the additional. It's so fast paced, which is good. It's just a different market, you know. And I've been through many markets, but this one's different. Best sellers market I've ever seen, you know.
We call it the market's moving fast. We got to move faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So speed to not speed to lead, speed to transaction.
Yeah, I mean that, and a lot of it, like, we're plugging people in. Like, I'll go on a listing appointment. I'm like, oh my God, so and so would love this house. And like, if you're working with an agent who's like a top performer, not just an agent who like does a handful of deals a year, those ones who are kind of in the know can plug you into listings maybe before they hit the market. Like, kind of, because you know, we have the inside scoop. I'm not saying we know them all, but there's been many where we're going in and we're like, oh, I got 3 people who buy this house, you know. So
absolutely,
it's just different.
Yeah, you know, some of it's, you know, everything's cyclical, so it'll all eventually even itself out. Who knows when that will be, but when we don't have a crystal ball. If COVID didn't teach you that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We only could do what we could do today. That's all we have. And the goal of that is to do the best that you could do today for the people that are in your life, family, friends, clients, employees, agents. All we can do is the best that we can do.
Yep.
And they can't ask for much more than that.
Agreed.
So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me this morning. Gosh, we're over an hour. An hour and 7 minutes. Usually,
yeah, that's chatting.
Because we could keep talking, but I'm going to let you get back to what you need to do today to start your day. But I love you, Brittney, and I'm so happy that you are on Be the Solution today, because you are the solution for your people, your family, your friends, your clients, and you keep on rocking there in Baton Rouge.
All right, sis. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.